the program. All right. We're honored to have for the hour, hopefully the whole hour, Congressman Mike Johnson, 4th Congressional District. Mike, how you doing?
Moon, I'm okay. Good to hear your voice.
Well, it's good to hear from you. You know, Congressman, the reason why I got in touch with you, I was just stunned when they came out with the propaganda ministry. And then I was stunned at what's happening at the border. I'm sure you hear this from a lot of constituents. We're stunned about everything they're doing to the country and to the people. And I was really proud of you because you got a chance to talk to the Homeland Security guy, and you got a chance to lay out what you think he was doing. And I'm going to, by the way, play that after you leave me today. I know that's kind of odd. Don't play it forward, but I want you to talk about the questioning and what this guy's doing to the country with on the border.
Well, yeah, it's a big issue, and it's gotten everybody's attention, of course. We've been watching this disaster play out since almost literally the day that Joe Biden took his oath of office. I mean, he took office, of course, in January of 2021, and since then, it's become an absolute. First, it was a border crisis. Then we called it a disaster. No, now it is a catastrophe. And by any objective measure, anybody that looks at what is going on has to come to the same conclusion that we have, and that is that this is being done intentionally. I believe these are impeachable offenses by Secretary Mayorkas at the Department of Homeland Security, and I told him so. I told him he needs to start looking for another job because we're going to have an election cycle when our team is put back in charge, and he's the first guy to go.
By the way, I love that you told him that, and I'll play that in the second hour, people. And you actually told him that, and I was proud of you because that's what I mean by manning up Republicans, telling these people straight up what's going on. But what's happening at the border, Mike, you know, Donald Trump won because of him running against protecting our borders. He won the presidency because of the issue. And they couldn't wait to get rid of him. They couldn't wait to get rid of him to go against everything he stood for. They totally going against, and this is un-American what they're doing. I think you kind of laid that out.
Yeah, it is un-American. More than that, it's a direct threat. You know, you hear Democrats all the time talk about existential threats, and they talk about the climate and any other number of progressive issues. The true threat to the survival of our republic is this idea that we shouldn't have a border at all. I mean, if you don't have a border, you don't have your own sovereignty. You don't have security, of course, but you don't have a country. I mean, a nation without a border is not a nation, right? This is not rocket science. This is Civics 101. And yet they come in from day one. You know, we say this with evidence, right? The president came in, Biden comes in. He does exactly the opposite of what President Trump not only ran on, but what he did, what he accomplished, and that is to secure that border and get control of this situation. You know, we started building the wall, of course. That's what, you know, he famously ran on that, and that was his commitment, and he got it done. And then he instituted policies that are just common sense. Well, when Biden comes in, he reverses them. You know, he institutes catch and release. Everybody hears that phrase. What is catch and release? That means if you catch someone coming across the border illegally under the Biden administration, you just turn them loose. You just release them into the country. Right?
Mike, we do that. We do that bass fishing in tournament. We do that in bass fishing. They catch and release. And you know what you do? You catch the fish and you release. I do catch and release. I hardly ever eat a bass ever. So the few I catch through the year, I let go. Right when I catch them, I look at them. If you're big, you take a picture. You let them go. Guess what? They're back in the water. That's what you're saying. It's a joke.
It's a joke, but it's so dangerous to the country because among the people that are being released are, of course, hardened criminals and you know, cartel people, drug traffickers, sex traffickers. We've got known terrorists roaming around the country apparently because the Secretary of DHH could not answer our questions under oath. I yielded time to Jim Jordan, and he asked him directly, where are those 42 known terrorists, at least the ones that you know of? That we've identified that came into the country. Where are they? He couldn't give us an answer, you know, under oath. I mean, it's just incredible. But then President Trump also had the Remain in Mexico policy, remember? So very common sense measure. If you're going to try to get into our border and you're going to claim that you need asylum or you're a refugee from violence in your home country or what have you, we're a very benevolent nation. But we have laws. We have to maintain the law, or again, we won't have a country. So part of our maintaining the rule of law is we have to have control of our immigration system. So we said, if you have a claim, you stay in Mexico. You remain in Mexico until we figure that out, whether it's a legitimate claim or not. What does Biden do? reverses it. So nobody stays in Mexico anymore. Of course, they're coming from 160-plus countries all around the world, flooding across that border every day. And now what are they about to do, Moon? They're about to repeal Title 42, the last tool in the toolbox, literally, that it helped us in any way stem the tide of this flow over the border. It was related to the COVID. It's a health restriction, right? But everybody knows, and even the administration admits itself, as soon as they repeal that, as soon as they stop enforcing that, which is a Trump-era policy, we're going to have 18,000 to 20,000 illegals flood over that border every single day. This is not a sustainable situation.
Well, no, it's not sustainable. And you talk about destroy America. That's one way to do it. You mentioned these people coming over. We've had drug problems, fentanyl, how do you say the name? Fentanyl,
yeah.
Sex, kids trafficking, sex trafficking, rapes, murders. Why don't these people understand? And I would talk to somebody who votes Democrat Party. Why can't you understand what's happening to young kids? And I'll tell you what, I went to a dance thing last night. My daughter did. And it was all these young ladies from 6, 7 years old, 8 years old, whatever they are, up. And I thought about these young girls and these innocent young ladies, just innocent children. And I thought about, wouldn't you want to, what kind of country doesn't protect their own kids? But you got people like this guy that y'all interviewed. And an Obama administration, the Biden administration, they don't seem to care about that because the media doesn't either. Because the media can go catch all this on tape and show people what's really happening with them. They won't do it. They'll look the other way, and that blows my mind.
That's exactly right. If it wasn't for Fox News having a correspondent down on the border in the Rio Grande Valley over the last year, we might not have all this videotape, not as much as we do, but the evidence is so clear. And that's exactly why so many of the American people are outraged. I mean, these are deliberate and defiant policies, and they're endangering everybody. The whole country, Moon, I said this in the hearing straight to the Secretary of DHS. I said, Mr. Mayorkas, the whole country is becoming a crime scene on your watch. We're dealing with a humanitarian disaster. We couldn't even have imagined anything of this scope, even 3 or 4 years ago. But as you mentioned, we've got a literal invasion of these lawless masses coming across the border from over 160 countries. We know that for a fact. We got the safety and security of the American people directly threatened, of course, but also these innocent children, Moon, as you say. We know for a fact these children are being abducted, assaulted, raped, and murdered by human traffickers. And what are they doing about it? They're inviting more of it, right? Their policies are encouraging this stuff.
Well, you got that. First of all, that's so sick. If I'm an American family, Democrat or Republican, Independent, I'm not voting for people that are pushing this. I vote against them. I want these people.
Yeah, this is a party issue.
Yeah, it is. And number two, how can people vote? A lot of this stuff has to do with Democrats. Yeah, there's some swamp Republicans. I'm going to be first to tell you. But a lot of this has to do with Democrat Party politics that people are voting for Democrats. I just blows my mind.
Well, a lot of them will say privately, acknowledge us to us privately that they're deeply concerned about it as well. I mean, how could you not be, as you pointed out, right? But you have to have the courage to stand up to the leader of your party and say, no, we're not going to do this. Now, you've seen about 45 or 50 now Democrats who are in tough re-elections this fall, and they're in swing districts and stuff. They've come out and said, hey, at least don't repeal Title 42. But that's not enough.
Well, they doing that for election, Mike. They strictly doing that for election.
Exactly right. Exactly right. And look, you mentioned fentanyl. Look, the drug cartels are making billions of dollars because of this. They're building their empires. They're drowning our streets in fentanyl. It's one of the most deadly substances on the planet, enough that would fit into the lead of a pencil is a lethal dose. And we've had literal tons of it that have been come across that border. And that has made drug overdoses the number one cause of death for Americans age 18 to 45 right now. Look, all of this is directly related to the Biden and the Washington Democrats' policies on the border. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. The facts are the facts, and as John Adams said, facts are stubborn things.
Well, let me ask you a question. If this was happening under Trump, do you think the media would be reporting that?
Oh, of course. But it would. Yeah, of course.
Hey,
of course. But you know...
They reported lies under Trump that, Trump had prostitutes pee on the bed and Obama. I mean, they report one lie after another, but they don't report the truth.
No, exactly right. And he ran on that issue because Trump knew how important this was to our country. When he said build the wall, originally they mocked him. He knew. He saw this coming. We all saw this coming. Anybody who's paying attention. could see that this is a true threat to the survival of our republic. And right now, not only are they just allowing this, but as I pointed out in the hearing, President Biden and his policies, they're using the precious treasure of hardworking American citizens, our taxpayer dollars, to incentivize and reward this stuff. They're giving these illegals food, clothing, health care, cell phones, welfare benefits, right? They're paying for ghost flights and bus tickets to secretly transfer these waves of illegals into our communities all across the country. We've had, as you know, we've talked about busloads of illegals dropped off in cities all across Louisiana, right? I mean, and they're doing this intentionally, Moon, and it's outrageous.
Yeah. All right. Mike Johnson, he's Congressman Mike Johnson, 4th Congressional District. We'll take a break. I'm at Hotline. We're honored to have Congressman Mike Johnson, 4th Congressional District. And Mike was on the committee as they are really working on the Biden administration, what's happening at the border. And Mike, you know, when you say, I know Abbott's doing it in Texas, I think he sent 9 or 10 buses to D.C. with these illegals that are coming across, and there's a legal way to do it. It's not, but basically going back to what you said about the border, if we don't have a border, we don't have a country. If we don't have a country, it will become and evolve into something it was never intended to be, which will be not a free country where people go do the best you can. And one of the problems we have in, Mike, is crime, drugs, and killing. And it bothers me because Barack Obama said in his day we needed a military police in the United States, well-funded, to take care of inside like we fund the ones that protect our borders. And I got a feeling that this continues, that's going to be what they come up with next. We got to have a national police force, which is communistic at best.
Well, that's right. And as you point out, because of these policies, you know, we always say elections have consequences, but no one could have imagined how dire the consequences this last election cycle could be. We got record levels of illegal immigration, as we're discussing, record levels of sex trafficking and deadly narcotics flowing into our country. We have a humanitarian disaster unlike anything we've ever seen in the history of our nation, okay? And the Secretary Mayorkas, okay, he's the head of the Department of Homeland Security. I pointed out in the hearing that is the 3rd largest federal department in the United States. We have the largest immigration system in the world. This is not a game. This isn't a joke. This isn't about party politics. You've got to keep the country safe. It's in his job description. We call it the Department of Homeland Security, for crying out loud. But since this guy took over, February 2, 2021, by the end of his first year, the Customs and Border Patrol agents recorded the highest number of border crossings in U.S. history. And here's the key, the lowest number of deportations. Now, why does that matter? Because if you don't deport illegals, okay, he gave all this lip service. He was on Capitol Hill for 3 days last week, Mooney, 3 different committees, and he said things under oath that were clearly, demonstrably not true, right? He claimed the border's secure. He claimed that they've got control of the situation. They don't, because if you don't deport the illegals who are coming across, that means apprehend, quickly remove them, send them back to their home country, okay? Then you don't have border security at all. That's just the bottom line. And they're coming in here, these guys intentionally, they're gutting our immigration laws, they're erasing our borders, and you can only conclude, if you look at the evidence, they're doing this. They're trying intentionally to import as many millions of illegal migrants as they possibly can before our Republican Party retakes the majority and has the votes necessary to stop this. That is the only logical conclusion.
But Mike, you, and I'm going to play it later for everybody, because I want them to hear you. I want them to hear the whole thing. It's only 4 minutes. You, sir, told him that. You have the only conclusion that we're coming up with that this is being done on purpose. That's why I would ask the voters and American people in Louisiana, to look when you vote Democrat, what you're getting. This is no doubt being done on purpose, because if it wouldn't, it would stop it. It's real simple. If you stop it, that's what you're intending to do. If you don't stop it and you're encouraging it by getting rid of Title 42, you're encouraging it because you want this to happen. You can't have it both ways. If the media was covering this under Donald Trump, they'd be pounding Mayorkas and they'd be pounding Joe Biden. But they're not even talking about it. They're not even covering the issue in the mainstream media.
No, not enough. And I'll tell you this, and you and I have talked about this before, and we say it all the time. This is not, listen, my friends, dear friends in Louisiana, okay, I understand, we all know 3-4 decades ago, everybody in our state was a Democrat, okay? All of our families were. That was the only option down here, okay? But here's the deal. This is not your father's, your grandfather's Democrat Party. It's just not. They have become run by the radical European-style socialists, the radical progressives. They do not believe in American sovereignty, security, the foundational principles of our country, individual freedom, limited government, the rule of law, peace through strength. All these things. They do not believe in it. They are trying to institute the opposite policies and truly transform and change our nation into something that we will not recognize. That is a fact. So the elections now, Moon, are really not about party. They're not about personalities. They're about policies, okay? You have to look to see the candidates that you vote for, what policies are they going to advance? This is the bottom line. We have to be informed voters now. You cannot take this stuff for granted. You have to open your eyes and look and see what is happening. This is for all the marbles. We are in a crisis mode. I think this is why we are going to have the biggest red wave election in U.S. history. I think that's going to happen this fall. I do believe that the Republicans...
Don't forget, Mike. Don't forget, they're trying to bring back COVID. They're trying to bring it back for mail-in ballots.
Well, luckily, the American people are onto this now. There's no way they can ever repeat the atrocities that happened in the election cycle of 2020 because, all the state legislatures around the country, most of them, instituted new safeguards and tightened that down. So we're in good shape. We got to keep our eye on the ball.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Hey, Mike, when we get back, we want to talk about that next move by Mr. Mayorkas, and that is the move for this new disinformation propaganda ministry. This right here is one of the most, besides man-made global warming coming up the road, this is the most dangerous thing I've ever seen in the country. You may not agree. It probably rivals some of the stuff you're talking about, but I need you to talk about this. Anyway, when we get back, his name is Congressman Mike Johnson, 4th Congressional District, right here in Louisiana. Welcome back, Moon Griffon Show. It's an honor and privilege to have Congressman Mike Johnson on with the 4th Congressional District. And, this is the newest thing, and this is apparently under the same guy's leadership, the new Disinformation Governance Board. Now, I got to tell you, Congressman, when I read this, out of all the things we've read and all the lies and all the propaganda, there's nothing should worry people more than this. And I was watching a film. I made a film of him the other day on TV. They were asked questions, will you be looking at private citizens, all that? And everything was, no, we're not doing that. That's not what it is. Let me re-explain it. And I thought, these organizations or these parts of government start real small. And then they grow to add this and grow to add that and grow to add this. And that's not what Homeland Security was supposed to be about. But this ought to scare everybody what they're doing with this.
It is completely Orwellian. You've heard all the descriptions since it was announced last week. Department of Homeland Security, that is an understatement of the year that it's not supposed to be doing this. Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas is the worst guy in the world, even if this were constitutional, which it is not. He would be the worst person in the world to preside over it, okay? Remember that he's in charge by design of the worst border crisis in American history that we've been discussing, okay? So now a government agency creating a Ministry of Truth to combat what it deems as misinformation, this is blatantly a violation of the First Amendment. I mean, the whole premise, I spent 20 years in the courts defending our First Amendment freedoms and religious freedom, our constitutional rights. The first freedom in the First Amendment is that the government cannot engage in viewpoint discrimination. The government doesn't have a right to choose which voices are acceptable in the public square and which are not. I mean, it's just a joke. But here they are, just openly defying the Constitution and saying that they're going to be in charge of determining what is misinformation, quote unquote, and what is not. And the woman that they put in charge of it, Nina Jankowicz, she is a radical leftist. I mean, she is the one that was out publicly saying that the Hunter Biden laptop was fake and the Trump-Russian collusion hoax was the gospel truth. I mean, that's all you need to know about this effort. It's crazy. It's going to be challenged in court. We're going to help do everything we can to bat this down. And as soon as we get the majority back in the Congress, we'll fix it with legislation. Between now and then, we're going to litigate it.
Well, Mike, my question, they're already moving forward with this. How do you stop it in its track? Because they're already moving forward. By the way, I read an article today. They're already, after forming this, already trying to expand it. In other words, it's only going to do it. They're already trying to expand the scope. So as they sit there, they say, well, we can go ahead and do this too. And then it's going to be, we doing all this. This is Germany. This is Adolf Hitler. This is Russia. This is Iran. This is China. This is what this is.
Yeah, the thought police. You know, they're threatened because the American people are waking up and they're paying attention, and there's all this outrage that you and I have been discussing on all these issues, and that is a great threat to the radical leftist agenda. So their knee-jerk reaction, their panic that they're in, they know they're not going to win this election cycle, or probably one for the next 10 years or more, because of everybody can see the results of this stuff. And so now they're feeling so threatened, they're taking these outrageous measures to try to censor and silence the other side, the conservative viewpoint. Common sense. It's not lawful. It's not legal. And people say, well, why can't you guys stop it right out of the blocks?
That's
well,
why I'm asking.
Try.
That's why I'm asking that.
We already have, okay? But here's the reality of the House, okay? We say elections have consequences. The reason it matters so much if we get the majority back is that right now we are in the minority party. Mm-hmm. We don't have the sufficient number of votes, 218, to move anything off the floor. The only way to get our bills, our measures, our ideas heard and voted on the floor is you have to have 218 votes to discharge it and force it there, because, of course, Pelosi's never going to allow anything I draft or file to be heard on the floor. And so we have to get that magic number. Well, we don't have it because the Democrats are running scared. There's not a single Democrat in the Congress who will go along with us on this. And so we're stuck, and therefore the American people are stuck. As frustrating as it is, until we get that majority back in November, we can't do anything legislatively. So we're reduced to going to the courts and litigate it, and that's what we'll be doing.
Yeah, I'm trying to, it's such a puzzle. I watched the news media ask this guy a question, and this is how they do. Well, you build your Homeland Security with different information, and, Republicans are already saying, oh, well, you know how they do. They like to carry on. That's how the media asked the guy a question. He already threw the Republicans down, and he asked, are you sure this is no way this can hurt the American people and stop their voices out there? So it looks like they're asking a forceful question. And then the guy goes, look, we need to re-explain this. We didn't explain it real well at first. And I thought, yeah, you did. And we know exactly what it is. When I saw this, I knew the border, what they're doing with transgender, and all the crazy stuff we're doing now. But when I saw this, I thought this totally silenced everybody. And they did it right after Elon Musk bought Twitter. And now Twitter ain't worth a flip. And I got a piece I'm going to play for that, too. It ain't worth a flip now. But it was okay just a few days ago.
Right. Exactly. No, this is not a coincidence, okay? Elon buys Twitter. They're going to open back up the free marketplace of ideas, and that has made panic ensue among the left, because they have counted on, this has been part of their deliberate strategy to censor and silence the viewpoints of our side, right? So when Twitter opens back up, would they hope, we all believe, that may begin a trend with the pressure from people to do that and these other social media giant outlets. And so now they, in the panic, what's their reaction? Oh, we have to create a disinformation governance board. I mean, give me a break. It's unbelievable.
But it was
couldn't make this stuff up.
Yeah. It was right after Musk. It was right after Musk put his money where his mouth was. By the way, Bernie has a piece. Right. I sent to Bernie. Bernie was the second piece, not Mike Johnson's piece, but the second piece. Or this guy on CNN nutting up about free speech. But I thought, man, before Musk bought Twitter, it was no nutting up. They were happy to get rid of. They were happy to get rid of patriots. They were happy to get rid of Donald Trump. They were happy to get rid of Mike Lindell. I mean, they tried to destroy everybody on the left. I just wish Democrat Party voters could sit back and say, okay, don't worry about party. What are they doing for the country and what they're doing against the country? This is against the country and free speech, including the left, which one day they'll turn around, Mike, and tell the left, thank y'all for voting for us, but y'all shut up, too. They don't understand it. That's what they'll do. That's what they did in Germany.
This is how tyrants rise to power, is they begin to throttle, turn down the voices that disagree, and ultimately they eliminate them, right? This is why America has always been the greatest, most free, most successful, most prosperous nation in the history of the world, because we vigorously defended free speech, the free marketplace of ideas, the free exchange of ideas. This is where accountability and transparency come from, to keep your government honest, to keep the people, the officials in charge, honest and accountable with checks and balances and separation of powers. These guys are opposed. The radical left is opposed to every one of those principles. And this is not just a theoretical thing they're talking about in college classrooms anymore. They're now trying to implement it, right? We are in a literal political war to save the republic. And our Constitution and everything that we depend upon and believe in is in direct jeopardy right now. This election, I believe, is the most important of our lifetime. Because if we don't regain control of the Congress, we could lose these freedoms forever. And this is not hyperbole. This is not some sort of political talking point. Everybody can Google and research and find this out for themselves. Okay, these are facts. And again, facts are stubborn things.
Yeah, no doubt about it. All right, Mike, let me do this. You got it, Bernie? What is it, a minute and something long? Yeah. Okay, I want to play. This is some dork on CNN. And listen to him talking about free speech and Elon Musk. And he's nutting up now, but you never saw this a year ago, 2 months ago, 2 weeks ago. Let me just listen to this.
No, I think there's a bigger problem that when we focus on the personalities of people like Elon Musk, and people say, oh, I think Elon's thinking this or that. There's a bigger problem here about how we are going to control the channels of communication in this country. In 1927, we had the Radio Act. 1934, the Communications Act. Congress stepped in. We made rules. FCC wasn't great, but it's still regulating the broadcast industry. You can't use vulgar language. You can't do all these things with speech. We gave over our what amounts to our airwaves or our internet waves to Mark Zuckerberg and Elon Musk. And we are in so much trouble because those guys believe in making money. We've already seen that with the 2016 election and Zuckerberg when he was taking rubles for ads from Russia and saying, that's I think it's crazy to think they had any influence on this election. Musk is the same. Musk doesn't want it. You know, he's upset with the SEC, tried to, how dare they question him? You know what I'm saying? This is dangerous. We can't think anymore in this country. We don't have people, no, I'm serious, we don't have people in Congress who can make regulations that can make it work. I think we can look to the Western countries in Europe for how they are trying to limit it. But you need controls on this. You need regulation. You cannot let these guys control discourse in this country or we are headed to hell. We are there. Trump opened the gates of hell and now they're chasing us down. We got
Hey, Mike, have you ever heard of so much BS lies, the FCC? I can say anything I want on the air. You realize I can say anything I want to say on the air? Sure. Now, I can't. Yes, I can't throw F-bombs, and I get that. But I can say anything I want to. So the FCC and all that did not do what that guy said. And look how he freaked out because Elon Musk is buying Twitter. Now we need all kind of censorship, but we didn't need it before that, only against conservatives.
Yeah, right. But, of course, they were engaging in censorship the entire time they were making those arguments.
Absolutely.
That's the whole point. It's just comical. It would be funny if it weren't so tragic and sad and dangerous to the future of freedom, okay? These are the same people that have been throttling voices like mine and yours and other conservatives the entire time. And when we were making speeches like he just said about how they're controlling speech, they said it was a big conspiracy theory. Come on, man. Yeah. Elon Musk is open about his objectives. He does not want to reduce speech. He wants to increase it. He wants to open back up the free marketplace of ideas, and that is the threat to them because they know their ideas cannot win in that marketplace.
Yeah, let me break, and then we'll come back and take a little short segment. Congressman Mike Johnson, thank you so much, Mike. I mean, but stay one more segment. I mean, that when I heard that guy say that, and I'm gonna break it down to the next. It just is an idiot. I mean, and just fooling the American people, and some of people are going, yeah. They don't know what he's talking about. Anyway, we'll take a break. Congressman Mike Johnson, one more segment to go. Hotline. We're honored to have Congressman Mike Johnson, one more segment. And Mike, I appreciate you spending an hour. I don't normally do more than a segment or two, but just a lot to discuss. I guess it frustrates someone like me and is the media. You guys got a difficult fight because the media, you can see how one-sided it is. You know, Barack Obama's the president, and it didn't matter if Barack Obama, no matter what he did to us, and I believe he's behind a lot of this, they would praise him. Trump comes along, and they just couldn't have somebody that was not part of the swamp. And they made up stories to lie about. Then here comes Obama's third term. And once again, they back to promoting, and anything gets in the way as simple as Elon Musk saying I'm about Twitter. Maybe he'll make it fair, maybe he won't. I don't know. I'm always a wait and see guy. But if he does make it fair, then that's a good thing for America, not bad. So And then y'all got to battle. You're battling so much with the media now. It's a mouthpiece for the Democrat Party. It's just such a mouthpiece for not for the left, for the far left. And I remember the days when we fought liberals. I would hug and kiss a liberal on the cheek right now, just because this group here has nothing to do with liberals. This has to fall off the cliff. Communism, Marxism, whatever you want to call it.
That's right. I mean, this is how tyrants rise to power. They get accomplices in the press and the media and people who control the airwaves, and they have their way. But listen, at the end of the day, it's so frustrating for us, Moon, as you point out. I mean, conservatives in Congress, it's just a challenge every single day because, people all the time back home say, why can't you guys just get your message out? I'm like, because there's only a few channels that'll still air it.
Yeah.
I've been blackballed from CNN and MSNBC. They won't allow me back on because when I was defending Trump during impeachment, we did a good job state-on message. They don't want to hear that. They don't want effective conservatives.
By the way, you ought to take that as an honor, man. I salute you. I'm taking you to lunch next time I see you. You're the man.
It is. Look, it's a badge of honor, okay, but it's so dangerous because, as you're pointing out, the American people don't always get to hear the truth of the other side.
Right.
But at the end of the day, I tell you what, man, I'm hopeful. I'm optimistic. I think America's best days are ahead, and the reason why is because I believe in the American people. I believe that people are waking up. They're seeing it with their own two eyes. They don't believe the fake news anymore. They don't believe the press. That institution has lost its trust for good reason. And, there's some jeopardy in that as well. But I tell you what, at the end of the day, people are going to vote their own safety, their own security, their own pocketbooks, the common sense issues that matter to them and their families. And the Republican policies and Republican candidates are the ones that are going to deliver that. And that's not a partisan party speech. That is a fact because of the dynamics that you and I have discussed today. The Democrat Party has been taken over by European-style socialists. That is a fact. At least at the national level, that's what we're dealing with. And anybody can see that with their own two eyes.
Yeah, I was reading something else, and they were talking about you heard that guy say we need more of the Western Europe type approach. Well,
sure.
How successful would that be in a free country? It would be horrible. Their immigration policies have devastated them. Their taxes policy is devastating. Their green planted ignorance has devastated them. Everything has devastated them. And yeah, we're going to be like them? That don't make any sense.
There's a reason everybody in the world wants to come to the United States. They're not flooding into Western European countries because that's some sort of oasis. They want to come here because we are the last bastion of freedom. We are the place where you can dream big and make it because of our policies, our principles, our foundational truths. And all those things, as we said, are in jeopardy right now. So this is an election cycle that really counts. If you care about what truly did make America great, you have your chance in November to go and vote that way. And I, again, I have great faith that the people are going to do that. And we're not going to have just a red wave, Moon. I think we're going to have a red tsunami.
Yeah.
And here's the interesting dynamic. Once that happens, because it corresponds with the 10-year redistricting effort, it's conceivable that, the Republican Party can hold a majority for a decade or more. That will change and fix the country, and I'm optimistic about it.
Well, Mike, it would be great for that to happen, but when you get it, we have to do something. And that's the part that also frustrates me, is that if the Republicans win, they have to be different, way different than the Democrats. It can't be, we can't tell a difference. And I know I'm preaching to the choir, but we can't go in the direction we're going now because this is un-American, headed in an un-American country, and the media is never going to be on our side. And we need strong conservatives, not just Republicans.
Well, listen, sometime soon we need to do an entire program about what we're going to do specifically because we're rolling out the policies. I've been working on that for 3 years now. We're going to be ready to govern, and we're getting our team ready, and we're going to have specific proposals, and we are going to do it. It's going to be kind of like the Contract with America days with Newt and what they did, but greater and more broad because the crises are larger and bigger, and there's more of them. There's a lot to fix, but I'm telling you, we have answers to all the great challenges facing the country, and I'm excited to roll all that out.
Well, yeah, it needs to, and they need to run on it, and then they need to do it. I know when Newt Gingrich came in, they actually did a lot of it. John McCain and some of the Republicans stomped Donald Trump when he was trying to do what he was trying to do. And we can't have that anymore. We've got to have a policy, and you got to be able to fight the president because, once you win the House and if you win the Senate, which I think you ought to win both, you got to be able to really implement and stop this guy from doing what he's doing, Obama's third term.
Absolutely. Oh, we will. He's going to be stifled. And, you know, the big question is, and this is really the unanswerable question right now, what will Joe Biden do when we regain a Republican majority in both houses of Congress? Will he do like Clinton did back in the 90s when Newt and those guys took over? Will he come back to the middle a little bit and try to govern and work with us? Or will he just be continually controlled by the radical left groups that push him around right now? We'll see.
Yeah.
But we're going to be sending all sorts of stuff to his desk, and we'll dare him to veto it, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, that's what you need to do. It's unbelievable. Anyway, Congressman Johnson, thank you so much, man. And but real quick, and I don't have but a second, I'm taking you running for re-election, and is that going okay?
Yeah. So far, so good. We still don't even have the final map yet. We're waiting on the court.
By the way, when do you think we get that, Mike?
Who knows? If it goes much longer, I think we'll probably sit on the existing maps for this cycle because, you know, we have an election coming up in November. It's not a lot of time. And they may have to go back to the drawing board, you know, after that. But we'll see. I think it's going to be fine. I think the districts remain largely the way they are with slight changes. And that's what the law required. That's what the legislature did. And I think they did the right thing.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mike Johnson, Congressman Mike Johnson. Thank you, Mike. We'll do it again soon.
You got it, my friend. Thanks.
All right. We got to take a break. More to